King Charles took a moment of deep reflection on Tuesday evening at Windsor Castle, delivering an emotional tribute to his son, Prince William, during an extravagant state banquet. Surrounded by over 150 distinguished guests, the king's words, spoken with warmth and sincerity, were a heartfelt homage to his son and the enduring legacy of the British royal family. However, in this rare public speech, there was one glaring absence. The king made no mention of his younger son, Prince Harry. The occasion was a grand one, as the royal couple, King Charles and Queen Camilla, hosted French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife, Brigitte Macron, for an evening filled with pomp and ceremony. As the banquet unfolded, Charles rose from his seat, prepared to share a few words with the guests. His speech, rich with history and personal sentiment, brought both smiles and reflection to the room. One of the most poignant moments came as Charles reflected on the history of Windsor Castle, the venue for the evening's gathering. He spoke with pride of its significance, not only as a symbol of royal heritage but as a place woven into the fabric of his family's history. With a smile, he revealed that the castle's origins could be traced back to the 11th century to a distant ancestor, William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy. This castle, Charles began, his voice carrying the weight of history, was begun by my ancestor and your sometime countryman, William, Duke of Normandy, in the year 1070. It remains the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. The king paused for a moment as if allowing the magnitude of those words to settle in. So it is perhaps rather fitting, he continued, that my son, the Prince of Wales, who shares the name of that William, has chosen to make Windsor his home with his family, just as so many of our predecessors have done. The king's words were not just a nod to the past but an affirmation of the present, a celebration of continuity, tradition, and family. There was a touch of humor in his voice as he spoke of William and Catherine's decision to make Windsor their primary residence, a decision that, for Charles, was particularly meaningful. It wasn't just about proximity to the historic castle or the royal grounds, but about the symbolism of carrying forward a long-standing royal tradition. It was, as the king implied, a gesture of connection to a shared history that spans centuries. In his speech, King Charles also took a moment to highlight the long-standing bond between Great Britain and France, emphasizing the importance of friendship and cooperation between the two nations. The king's words were both gracious and diplomatic, underscoring the importance of unity in a time when international relationships are more crucial than ever. Yet, for all the warmth and camaraderie that filled the room, there was a noticeable absence in the king's words. While Prince William and Princess Catherine were celebrated, and their family home at Windsor was acknowledged, the name of Prince Harry was never mentioned. Given the ongoing tensions between Harry and the rest of the royal family, this omission hardly came as a surprise. In recent years, Prince Harry's relationship with his father has been strained, particularly after he and his wife, Meghan Markle, stepped away from royal duties in 2020, choosing to forge a new life in Montecito, California. The fallout from that decision has been widely covered, with the Duke of Sussex frequently expressing his desire for reconciliation. In a recent BBC interview, Harry, now 40, spoke candidly about his longing for a resolution. He admitted to feeling hurt by his father's unwillingness to engage with him, but expressed that he had forgiven his parents for their past disagreements. Life is precious, Harry said, reflecting on the futility of ongoing conflict. There's no point continuing to fight anymore. Despite Harry's public comments about wanting to heal the rift, the silence from King Charles speaks volumes about the strained nature of their relationship. It's a delicate and painful situation that continues to unfold in the public eye, with both father and son seemingly trapped in a cycle of hurt and miscommunication. Yet, even in this absence, there remains a glimmer of hope for reconciliation, though only time will tell whether it can come to pass. Meanwhile, life goes on for Prince William and his family, who have carved out a quiet, stable life in Windsor. In 2022, William made the decision to move his family into Adelaide Cottage, located within the sprawling grounds of Windsor Great Park. The cottage, a charming and intimate home, is just a stone's throw from Windsor Castle and offers a more private, family-focused environment for William, Catherine, and their 3 young children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The location was carefully chosen not just for its proximity to the royal seat but also for its accessibility to the children's school. Lambrook School, a prestigious institution in Berkshire, is where George, Charlotte, and Louis are currently enrolled. It's a fitting place for the next generation of royals to receive their education away from the glare of the public eye. In many ways, the move to Adelaide Cottage marks a departure from the more formal, high-profile life the family once led at Kensington Palace. The royal couple's former residence, apartment 1A at Kensington Palace, had been their home since their marriage in 2011. It had also been the home of Princess Margaret and her husband, Anthony Armstrong-Jones, following their wedding in 1960. But the move to Windsor was a conscious decision to prioritize family life and provide the children with a sense of normalcy, a quiet, peaceful environment in which to grow and develop. For William and Catherine, the decision to settle in Windsor was more than just about real estate. It was about building a foundation for their children, one that allowed them to embrace their royal duties while also enjoying the simplicity and comfort of family life. And for the king, his elder son's choice to make Windsor his home felt like a personal victory, an affirmation of his family's enduring legacy. But even as King Charles celebrated the bond between father and son, the absence of Harry's name in the speech lingered in the background. It was a reminder that family ties, even within the royal family, are not always as unbreakable as they may seem. The silence surrounding Harry's absence from the speech speaks to the deep complexities of royal life, where public appearances, family dynamics, and personal emotions often intersect in unexpected ways. While the royal family as a whole may outwardly project unity, the reality behind the palace walls is one of deep-seated tension and unresolved grief. For King Charles, speaking publicly about one son while omitting another must have been an incredibly difficult choice, one that surely came after much reflection and, perhaps, a sense of inevitability. Behind the grandeur of the banquet and the official duties of state, there's a family divided by personal conflicts that have become all too familiar to the public. Harry's journey, one of leaving behind royal life to forge a new path in America, was never going to be without its struggles. His candidness about his feelings towards the royal family, particularly in his memoir, Spare, has painted a picture of a man in search of belonging, seeking peace with a past that seems too painful to fully reconcile. But reconciliation, as Harry himself has acknowledged, requires effort from both sides. While the king's speech made no mention of his younger son, it might still reflect a hope that time can heal wounds, even if it feels like that hope is, at times, just out of reach. It's a reality many families face. Sometimes distance and silence are the hardest truths to bear, yet they are sometimes necessary for healing to occur. For Prince William and Catherine, their life in Windsor is defined by quiet simplicity and a sense of stability that is rare in the whirlwind of royal obligations. As parents, they are focused on their children's well-being and creating a life that feels as close to normal as possible. The young family's move to Adelaide Cottage in 2022 was a step in that direction, away from the more grandiose, public-facing environment of Kensington Palace to a place where they could breathe easier and find peace. It's clear that for William, Windsor offers more than just a place to live. It's a return to the roots of his family, a nod to the history his father so often cherishes. The proximity to Windsor Castle adds an element of tradition, while the nearby school ensures the children can grow up with a sense of continuity and royal duty. But more than that, it seems to be about setting up a family unit that is grounded in love and togetherness, far from the scrutiny that so often accompanies royal life. And while the king spoke with pride of his son's choice to settle in Windsor, there was a sense that the broader picture of royal life, filled with both triumph and tragedy, was somehow being carried forward through William's decisions. In this sense, he is very much stepping into a role that his father and his grandfather before him would understand. It's the natural progression of things. As one chapter of royal life closes, another begins. But what happens when a son's path diverges so dramatically from his father's? As we've seen with Harry, what happens when the royal narrative becomes fractured? When personal wounds become too deep to simply ignore or brush aside? The ongoing saga of the Sussexes, a couple that continues to shape headlines across the world, reminds us of how complicated family dynamics can be, even within the most celebrated families. Prince Harry's journey, both personal and public, has been marked by his quest for a new identity and his need to separate himself from the constraints of royal expectations. His candidness about his struggles has painted him as both a figure of sympathy and controversy. The release of his memoir Spare, and the subsequent interviews he gave, shed light on a man who has carried the weight of royal expectations for much of his life and now seeks to redefine himself, free from those burdens. His words, at times raw and emotional, have echoed through the media and resonated with many who see in him a man grappling with the same human desire for belonging, love, and understanding. But, as we've seen time and time again, reconciliation within the royal family is a delicate matter, often delayed by pride, history, and the weight of tradition. King Charles's decision not to mention Harry in his speech may be seen as a reflection of this, an acknowledgement of the distance between them, but also a statement of the complexity of their relationship. Perhaps the king's omission wasn't out of malice, but simply a recognition of where they are now at this moment in time. It's a painful reality, one where the desire for peace is evident, but the path to it remains obscured by years of unresolved issues. However, as with all families, the future is never set in stone. Time has a way of shifting perspectives and mending rifts, even when it seems impossible. In the meantime, life moves forward for the royal family, with Prince William and his family embracing a quieter, more grounded life in Windsor. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, are being raised in a home that balances royal duty with the simplicity of childhood, a rare and precious opportunity. The king's tribute to his son on that special evening in Windsor was a reflection of that desire to keep the family close, to honor the traditions that have shaped their lives while also acknowledging the changes that come with each new generation. Yet, for all the royal grandeur, the true story unfolds in the quiet moments in the lives of William and Catherine, who are determined to ensure their children grow up with both a sense of duty and the freedom to experience life as a family. And as for King Charles, his public tribute to his son, Prince William, was a reminder that, despite the fractures and tensions that may exist, there is always room for love, family, and ultimately hope. As we reflect on the royal family's journey, we're reminded that behind the headlines and the public figures, they are, like all families, simply navigating the complexities of life, love, and the desire to find peace, no matter the circumstances.